Good morning, everybody. Welcome along to a bright and sunny Silverstone Grand Prix circuit for day 2 of the Silverstone 500 British GT race weekend. We are kicking things off, though, with the Ginetta Junior Championship and a very special race. This season already was a season of celebration, the 20th anniversary season of the Ginetta Junior Championship. And this second race of the weekend is the 500th Ginetta Junior race in the championship's 20-year history. It's a momentous occasion, and with a bit more information about that and a man who had rather an integral part in making it all happen, let's head down to the pit lane and hear from Bryn Lucas.
Thanks very much, Andy. Yeah, it's great to see you here, Lawrence, with 500 races in the juniors. Before we talk about juniors, though, give us a bit of a backstory in Ginetta's and how the racing series came to be.
Well, I bought Ginetta about 20 years ago this year, and we had a junior series that was kind of running with the old G20 with the coupe, and then we've developed the G40 and then the road car. But the mainstay of our junior series is the new G40, which is just an amazing car. I think it was like 2008-9 it's been running, and it's just so good. It's been tiny little iterations all the way through, and then last year in October I announced the facelift for it, a big cost reduction program. But really it's about the quality of the drivers and the quality of the product, and it's such a consistent product, and the way we ensure that all the cars are equal and fair racing. So it's all about the drivers and the team doing the job.
Behind us, all the cars have lined up the juniors. I mentioned it's the 500th juniors race, and look at some of the names that have come through, the alumni. You know, Tom Ingram, British touring car champion. In British GT, there have been a number of drivers that have come through as well, and a certain Lando Norris that raced. So the drivers that have come through are the best of the best.
Yeah, I mean, everybody mentions Lando, and he's an amazing driver, and you can see him in Formula One now. You know, maybe even win the World Championship this year, you know, fingers crossed. But it's really everywhere across the world. You know, whenever I go, wherever I'm in the world, if there's a race on, there will be a Ginetta driver on the grid, almost certainly. And we brought well over 500, I think, MS UK license holders in. These are people that probably wouldn't have been racing, and they go from us. We're not precious about our drivers. We want them to do have a great time in Ginetta, but then move forward and be the best they can possibly be.
Well, they're all ready to get going for the 500 one, Lawrence. Thank you very much indeed. We're about to be kicked off the grid, though, and I reckon no one wants to hear more from us, Andy. So over to you for the racing behind, Lawrence. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Bryn. It's a magnificent story, isn't it? And the Ginetta Junior Championship, it's fitting, really, that it is enjoying one of its most successful years to date. I know it's only the second event of the season, but we've got a massive grid. I seem to recall someone giving me a stat at Donington Park at the season opener saying it was the largest grid of cars we'd ever had for a season opening round of the championship. So a good time for them to be really kicking it up a gear. And we've seen some fabulous racing across the previous 499 races in this championship, but specifically the 4 that we've had in 2025 so far, really, really close action. And I think this season is going to be just as unpredictable as the previous 19. Yesterday's race, won by Rocco Coronel. That was his 3rd victory of the year. Having said how competitive it is and how unpredictable it is, Rocco Coronel seems to find a way to the front, doesn't he? He's won the last 3 races on the bounce. The first round of the championship was won by Alfie Slater at Donington Park a few weeks ago, but since then it's been all about Rocco Coronel, the son of former world touring car star Tom Coronel. He's Dakar Rally legend as well. He's done a bit of everything, has Tom, and clearly has passed that ability down to his son Rocco, who is Red Bull backed as well, one of 2 Red Bull backed juniors on the grid. He and his R-Racing teammate, one of his R-Racing teammates, Scott Lindblom, both running with the Red Bull liveries, and you can see why, because they've both been up there. In fairness, Scott has had a little bit of bad luck along the way and sits down in 9th position in the points, but definitely has the pace to be up there and winning races. If only Rocco Coronel would let someone else have a go. Yesterday's race, in fairness, was not dominated by Rocco Coronel. In fact, he only led the last 2 laps of the race yesterday. It was Fred Green who led for much of yesterday's opening encounter, and it's Fred Green who has pole position for Elite Motorsport today. Rocco Coronel, though, starting right alongside of a pair of rookies on the front row together. Torin Byrne, yesterday's pole sitter, had a disastrous race which ended with a spin halfway around the opening lap, but we're hoping for better luck from third today. Joseph Smith alongside on row 2. American driver Ethan Carney has Swede Scott Lindblom for company on row 3. Then it's Alfie Slater, that winner, the only other winner this year apart from Rocco Coronel. He starts 7th alongside Colin Cronin, with Jarrett Clark and George Proudfoot-Nalder, the Aussie, rounding out the top 10. Emilio Del Grosso gave us some good onboard footage yesterday. We'll be starting 11th for this one with Max Cuthbert alongside. Row 7, Felipe Reich and Ethan Lennon, South African driver, with Harry Bartle and Reevy Lake together on row 8. 9th row, Joshua Henry and Matthew Chihuahua. The top 20 completed by Henry Cameron and Raul Zanzaran. And then towards the back of the grid, row 11, Katrina Ian, Freddie Lloyd. Row 12, Josh Watts and Noah Young. And at the back, again, Felix Livesey. Felix Livesey had his lap times disallowed in qualifying yesterday because of, guess what, track limits, and had to start yesterday's race from the back. Worked his way through quite nicely, I seem to recall, before then getting caught up in a late incident, but he was knocking on the door of the top 10 at the time, and ended up with a spin, I think it was at the loop yesterday. So Felix, one to watch as he tries to move forward again in race number 2. So 500th Ginetta Junior race, and well, who is going to come out on top in this one? The driver with the most race wins, of course, Freddie Slater, former champion, and Freddie with 19 race wins. Now, we have this season 24 races, so it will take some doing for Rocco Coronel to beat that 19 race win figure from Freddie Slater a couple of years ago, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility, certainly given the immense racecraft that Rocco Coronel displayed yesterday. If you didn't see yesterday's race, it was quite an interesting one. He and Fred Green got away at the front. They both got past Torin Byrne in the opening couple of corners, and then they worked together. They're not teammates, they run for rival teams, actually, Elite Motorsport and R Racing, the two teams with the most race victories in championship history. And those two broke away at the rest of the field, the front of the field, and worked together. Rocco Coronel sat behind Fred Green, biding his time until partway around the penultimate lap. Now, at the time, I thought that might be a bit too early. It gave Fred Green an opportunity to come back at him, but there was no retaliation. Fred had nothing left in the tank, and Rocco was able to hang on to claim the race victory. So, race 500 about to get underway. It's also, I've just heard, the 400th race for the Ginetta G40. We heard Lawrence referring to the G20, which was the original Ginetta Junior car. 400th race for the G40. It's funny how the stars align sometimes, isn't it? And where better to have these celebrations than the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit? Probably the best track in the country for Ginetta Junior racing. The slipstream is powerful. It's plenty wide enough for the drivers to make some pretty daring passes. Let's hope that this one is a race to remember. The back of the grid is in position. The green flag's been waved, and we look now towards the starting gantry then. Race 500 for the Ginetta Junior Championship about to burst into life. Fred Green and Rocco Coronel sharing the front row. Who will get the best of the starts? Looks like Fred Green is away well from the outside of row 1. I don't think Rocco Coronel will be able to challenge. No, he can't, so he slots in behind the 51 machine. Torin Byrne holding on to 3rd, and I think that was still Joseph Smith in 4th. So grid order at the front of the field as the mid-pack make their way around Copse Corner and down towards Maggots and Beckett's. This is always a little bit sketchy on cold tyres. They've had a green flag lap, but it's rather pretty warm this morning, but not warm enough quite for the tyres to be in the ideal operating window. That was Scott Lindblom off the road. Should be able to rejoin more or less where he was, but he's on the outside of a seemingly never-ending train of Ginetta G40s to the inside. He's still up the curb. Look as they head out of Chapel and on to the Hanger Straight for the first time. This is where the slipstream is at its strongest. Is Rocco Coronel going to make an early move this time, or will he try and do what he did yesterday and work with Fred Green? Well, Fred is defending either way, but I don't think Rocco actually intended to go past him. He goes to the inside line, and that may allow Torin Byrne to sweep to his outside. Torin Byrne on board now with yesterday's pole sitter, and this is a familiar sight. He's being squeezed out as they drop down the hill through the Vale, but he's got the inside line into the club chicane. It is still Fred Green, the leader. Is Torin Byrne about to go second? Probably not, I fear, is the answer, because he's on the outside now for club, and here we go again. Look, it opens the door for everybody else to stream through on the inside line. Joseph Smith is the first candidate to steal a place away from Torin Byrne. He's alongside the number 18 car as they head down past the wing towards Abbey Corner. Scott Lindblom in the background making a move on George Proudfoot-Nalder. I think they were briefly 3 wide, but for 3rd place it is car 15 ahead now, so good stuff there from Joseph Smith read that situation well. Ethan Carney, his Elite Motorsport teammate now, closing in and also trying to get past Torin Byrne. He's on the outside of Torin through Village, and that will work a treat. He's got the inside for the loop now, and that was really, really clever car placement from Ethan Carney. Ooh, it's all getting very congested in the midfield. That was the number 13 launching up the inside into the left-hander. Trying to gain some ground. That's Katrina E, who I think has gained quite a few places from 21st on the grid. Down the Wellington straight they head. Again, very defensive from Fred Green. There's no working together right now, is there? Because they haven't managed to make that early break, Fred and Rocco, that they did yesterday. So I think this might be a bit more of a free-for-all. And if it is going to be that sort of race, then I think Rocco Coronel would rather be at the front of the queue, just in case he ends up getting shuffled back, as we've seen happen to Torin Byrne. And towards the end of the opening lap we go. This is Emilio Del Grosso, and that's contact. And, well, Emilio gets away with it, but another car is pointing the wrong way, and now one also scatters into the gravel trap in avoidance. That car won't dig its way out. That was 21, I believe. Matthew Chihuahua beached in the gravel. Didn't catch the number of the spinner. We'll try and figure that out. We'll see, I guess, who comes through at the back of the field at the end of that lap. I think it might have been the number 73. Yes, I think it was 73 that went around, Harry Bartle. He has crossed the line, albeit a few seconds adrift of the pack, but Chihuahua is still in the gravel trap. Leading pack make their way through Maggots and Beckett's. It is a pack, isn't it? There's 8 cars in a line. This stretches all the way from Fred Green, the race leader, back to Scott Lindblom in 8th position. As they head down the Hanger Straight, the marshals at Luffield have some work to do early this morning, pushing the 21 car back underway. That is Matthew Chihuahua's machine, and good job by the marshals to get that car out of the gravel. And a big thank you, as always, to the legion of marshals that we've got here at Silverstone. It's a busy weekend here in the UK, lots of race meetings they could be at, and we really thank those who have chosen to come to Silverstone and help us out this weekend. Right, it's all changing again in this leading group now. Another good move round the outside there from Ethan Carney. He's taken 3rd now away from his teammate Joseph Smith, and he's going up the inside of Rocco Coronel, I think. Yes, he has. So Ethan Carney maybe into 2nd place. He's going to try and carry the momentum around the outside, invents his own line through Club Corner. That was definitely on track limits, but he manages to move into 2nd place anyway. Ethan Carney, twice now in this race, a race that is only a lap and a half old, has made some pretty impressive moves around the outside. He's on the outside again now, though, into having being freight trained by Coronel and Smith. So the 2 places he's just gained, he now loses. We're on board with Torin Byrne. To our left is Alfie Slater. And Alfie trying to muscle his way through, and I think he will. Torin Byrne's on the grass. Hopefully he can get that stopped into Village. No, he's lost control, slides into the pack, and surely they have not all missed him. No, there is contact, and it's Scott Lindblom again, the luckless Lindblom, who is in the wrong place at the wrong time. And there was nothing Scott could do there. Torin Byrne was on the grass, got it all locked up, couldn't stop the car from sliding back into the road. And Scott Lindblom, unfortunately, was in his path. Here's the replay. So it's a bit of a squeeze from Slater. Torin runs onto the grass, and then in trying to rejoin, hits that little bit of dirt, a little bit of gravel on the grassy area. Actually gets into Slater first, then Lindblom. I don't think any of those cars got too much damage, though, given the size of the impact. You'd have expected at least one of those cars to be stranded and going no further, but I think they all carried on. Oh, no, Torin Byrne didn't, I'm afraid. So Torin Byrne, well, you've got a feel for Torin. Fastest in qualifying yesterday, 3rd on the grid for this race, and, well, no decent results to show for it so far this weekend. They do have a 3rd race later on this afternoon. Torin will be pinning his hopes on that one, maybe turning his weekend around. So what does that mean for the front of the pack? Well, through all of that, guess who's managed to make a break at the front of the field? Fred Green and Rocco Coronel are now 2nd clear of Ethan Carney and Joseph Smith. There are the 3rd and 4th place cars. Now, they are teammates. They are both Elite Motorsport drivers. They are almost certainly going to work together here to try and make sure the leading 2 don't get too far away. So don't think this is quite a 2-horse race just yet. I think Fred and Rocco are going to have some company before too much longer, but it'll be interesting to see now which pair of cars is quicker, whether it's Green and Coronel or Carney and Smith. Then it's a gap back to Colin Cronin, who's found a way into 5th position, and that's Cuthbert behind. Oh, off has gone Emilio Del Grosso. It's the exit of the Maggots-Beckett sequence of corners. But, yeah, that has split the pack slightly, that drama up at Village on the previous lap. And Stowe Corner they go, down through the Vale towards the club chicane. And yeah, I wouldn't expect to see any real fireworks from these leading 4 cars for the time being, as they try to just stay with each other, really. this is where the action will be, I think. 5th position is the battle. It's Colin Cronin hanging on for now. And as they head past the international pits, this is what happened to Emilia Del Grosso, who I think had some assistance there. Here's the onboard. There's a touch, I believe. Now, I couldn't see who was behind him. He did really well, actually, to get that car slowed down with some assistance from the gravel, admittedly, to avoid hitting the barriers. Here, meanwhile, is a move from Rocco Coronel, just as the safety car is scrambled. Now, this will take a bit of sorting out, because they have to stop racing as soon as they see a safety car board. And Rocco Coronel has made his move. Did he get that done? Well, I don't see any yellow flags at that marshal's post, but just to be safe, he's let Fred Green go back through. So Fred Green will reclaim the race lead that Coronel had briefly taken away from him. But I'm intrigued as to why Coronel made the move when he did. I don't think he could have known that there was a safety car coming, because he wouldn't have seen, well, whatever the reason for the safety car is. I guess maybe Torrin Burns' car that is at the side of the road. So I'm quite intrigued as to his thinking behind making that move. It doesn't matter. Anyway, Fred Green, he let Fred Green back through, so the order didn't change, but that was quite early for Rocco Coronel to make the move for the race lead. But he knows what he's doing. That much he proved yesterday. He's a real thinking driver, and he knows how to read a race, how and when to make the big moves. But he will have to try again upon the resumption of the race. Safety car out then. That sort of takes away that situation I was talking about with the 2 pairs of cars at the front, really. It brings everyone else back into play now. And I'm hearing the reason for the safety car is Torrin Byrne, whose car needs a lift to get out of this position. Up against the edge of the gravel trap. So the car's a long way off the road, but it's right in the firing line should anybody else go off the road as he did. Now, this is the Torrin Byrne view of all of this. So he's on the inside of Alfie Slater. That's Slater to our left. There is a 3rd car, I think maybe Colin Cronin joining in this as well. And that just sort of squeezes Torrin wide. And look at that patch of gravel there. Once he hits that gravel, it's the right-hand side of the car that gets into the gravel. That slows the gravel down. Look at the wheel whipping around. He did really well to get his hands off the wheel, because that could easily break a wrist if you don't let go in time. And he slams the door in disgust. It's been a weekend of what-ifs for Torrin Byrne, and that was so unfortunate. As I started to say, he got the right-hand side wheels into that patch of gravel. That slowed the right-hand side of the car down, started the spin. Had he straddled that bit of gravel, he might have been all right, but it all happened very quickly, and he had probably minimal control of the car anyway on the grass. And that is the end result. The car badly damaged. I suspect the steering's damaged. That wheel was spinning round and round and round and round much more quickly than it should be. So I suspect steering damage prevents them from being able to push that car out of the way, because they've got no control over which direction they push it in. So that's why the safety car is out. And Fred Green gets a moment's respite. We are halfway through the race then. It's Fred Green the leader, Rocco Coronel 2nd. Ethan Carney is the leading non-rookie driver in 3rd. 4th place then for Joseph Smith. 5th for Colin Cronin. Cuthbert, Clark, Lennon, Proudfoot, Nalder and Alfie Slater complete the top 10. So Slater and Lindblom, who were the 2 who sort of got collected by Torrin Byrne, are just on the fringes of the top 10. Slater is 10th and Lindblom 11th. So safety car gives them an opportunity, provided their cars aren't too badly damaged, to move forward. There they go through shot. 2nd of the Red Bull machines is Lindblom. It was more of a glancing blow, I think, to those 2 cars. Torrin Byrne's car definitely bore the brunt of that impact. So the Pace Performance car out of the race. At the head of the field, well, it's another R Racing versus Elite Motorsport battle, isn't it? We've got Elite in the lead with Green, Coronel for R Racing 2nd, Carney, Smith, Cronin, all Elite Motorsport drivers. And then another pair of our racing cars next, Cuthbert and Clark. So the top 7 dominated by those teams, but that is fitting really, because they've been the 2 most dominant teams in Ginetta Junior Championship history. R Racing with the most wins of any team, 85 for those keeping count. Elite Motorsport 67. They actually moved ahead of HHC Motorsport, who we don't really see racing in the championship these days, but HHC Motorsport, who had great success in Ginetta Juniors through the years, now with 2 fewer wins than Elite Motorsport. So Elite, who contrary, we see competing in most Ginetta Championships and all of their single-seater racing and GT4 cars around Europe as well. Elite Motorsport have suddenly expanded to become one of the leading teams, whether it be in open wheels or the GT and sports car racing world. And we've seen many a great battle over recent years between Elite and R Racing in the Ginetta Junior Series. And they fittingly are now the two winningest, I hate that word, winningest teams in championship history. There's the 22 of Josh Watts going through, the Boston Bowl liveried machine. Josh, a former Fiesta Junior driver, made the switch over to Ginetta's for 2025 full-time. And Josh is, how's he getting on? 17th place at the moment. Torrin Burns' car is in the process of being extracted off the circuit. Unfortunately, they couldn't quite get that out of the way in time for a restart that time by. So there'll be another lap behind the safety car. That lap was nearly 4 minutes in length. Now, they can ask the safety car driver to up the pace a little bit, and I suspect they probably will in race control. But even so, you're still looking at a 3-minute plus lap, aren't you? Well, a flying lap is 2:40, so they can't go a lot quicker than that. Well, they won't go any quicker than that behind the safety car. The point I'm trying to make is that we're only going to have a couple of laps of racing, I think, after this, around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. The 400th and 450th Ginetta Junior races also took place here at Silverstone. 2021, Will Jenkins won the 400th. Chase Fernandez for R Racing won the 450th 2 years ago on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Something I didn't know actually until I was doing a bit of research ahead of this weekend is that the very first Ginetta Junior race didn't even take place in the United Kingdom. It took place in Crans-Tenoir, in France. And Luciano Bacchetta won the race back in 2005. And yes, an away day to start the season. But since then, they've had a few more visits actually to European circuits over the years. But the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, as I said, has, well, Silverstone in all of its layouts, to be honest, has produced some of the best Ginetta Junior racing through the years and some of the absolute closest finishes. That run out of Luffield through Woodcote Corner, it's not uncommon to see cars going side by side to the line here. We've had some real photo finishes in Ginetta Juniors at Silverstone. Maybe the 500th race will serve us up another one. It's going to be a fascinating battle once we do get going. Fred Green and Rocco Coronel. What has Coronel got for Fred? He made that move just as the safety car came out and had to give the place back because he hadn't quite got the move made before the safety car was scrambled. Well, now we're going to have, what, 5 minutes of racing to go. So 2 more laps for Rocco to make something happen. Now, in yesterday's race, he made the move on the penultimate lap, but in yesterday's race, he didn't have any pressure from behind, let alone from Fred Green's teammates. So let's see what happens now as the race is about to resume. The lights out on the safety car. Fred Green backs the field together. Rocco Coronel pulling a bit of a Max Verstappen here and pulling up alongside Fred slightly as they head down the Wellington Straight. Now Tuck's back in line. But yeah, he is outnumbered here, isn't he? He's the lone R Racing Ranger in the top 5. All of the other top 5 cars are Elite Motorsport. Will they gang up on him? And might that be the thing that stops the Rocco Coronel winning streak? Let's find out. Fred Green accelerates out of Luffield Corner. Coronel has gone right with him. Couldn't be any closer to the race leader. That was a brilliant restart from Coronel. And look, he's given himself a couple of car lengths gap back to Ethan Carney already. And that means he is free to attack if he wants towards Copse Corner. I suspect he'll probably wait until the hangar straight, but the first attack that he has, he won't have to worry about any pressure from behind. Really good stuff that from Rocco Coronel, properly switched on to the restart. So Fred Green leads them. He's a bit wide out of Copse Corner, but doesn't open the door for Coronel. Carney, Smith and Cronin will attempt to work together to close back in on the leaders, which in fairness they are. The power of the slipstream bringing them all back together as they head through Maggots and Beckett's for the 6th time. And then they will head to the hangar straight, where surely somebody in this group is going to try and make a move. Who will it be, though? Will it be Coronel for the lead, or will it be the elite cars behind him? Well, he's had a really good run, has Coronel, out through Chapel. And if he wanted to, he could surely pull alongside, but Fred Green will only allow Rocco to go to the outside line. He's going to hug that white line to driver's right, and Coronel's missed his chance, I think, because Carney peels out of line first. No one goes with him, though. Ethan Carney likes this outside line. Is he going to be able to convert it into second place? Well, he's alongside Coronel through the corner. Rocco's going to squeeze him to the edge of the road. Carney stands his ground. Here comes Smith as well. They're 3 abreast for second place down the hill, and Rocco Coronel is stuck in the middle. Fred Green is loving seeing this in his mirrors. He turns into the club chicane as the race leader. Coronel, though, somehow has kept them both behind him. He's still second, and now Smith and Carney go side by side themselves. So Coronel survives that assault from the elite cars behind, but it's just given Fred Green, what's that, maybe half a second's advantage over Rocco, and Coronel's going to have to spend the rest of this lap trying to bridge that gap. Through Abbey we go for the penultimate time. Cronin there defending from Cuthbert. There are lots of warning flags going out for drivers for track limits, most notably perhaps the race leader Fred Green being warned about track limits. It's only a warning for now, but if he does it again, that will be a penalty. Oh, that's Cuthbert sliding up the inside of Cronin. That sort of delayed them both, though, and allows the 55 machine now, Jarrett Clark, to go around the outside. Another R Racing car joining the fight. They're 3 abreast off the turn. That's George Proudfoot-Nalder, the MDD car, to the inside. Didn't quite have the momentum, I don't think, to complete that pass. Here comes Coronel then. He's already closed back in on Fred Green. We're heading down the Wellington Straight for the penultimate time. They are side by side for the lead. No, they're not. He's gone through already. Rocco Coronel drafts past Fred Green, who launches back to the inside at Brooklands, rattles down the side of the Red Bull car, and Fred Green will not give this lead away. He's sideways. He's gone around. Fred Green spins at Brooklands. Will they all miss him? No. There's the decisive bit of contact. And, well, the elite car carries on. But what a shame. Fred Green out of contention for the win. He was not happy, I don't think, with the fact that Rocco Coronel simply drove past him down the Wellington Straight, knew that he had to try and get the position back at Brooklands, the very next opportunity, and just couldn't quite keep the car underneath him. So Coronel leads then. Second place now, Joseph Smith. Third, Ethan Carney. George Proudfoot-Nalder is fourth. George gained 5 places on that lap. He picked his way through the action very efficiently indeed, and might still have a chance at a podium, although he's sort of fallen away from the top 3 slightly. So the only remaining question really then is whether or not Smith and Carney can now work together to close in on Coronel. There's Cronin sliding to the inside of Cuthbert, and actually made the move stick quite well there. So Cronin through. Cuthbert latches back onto his rear bumper as they head down the Hanger Straight. And a few more now joining in the fun. We've got Freddie Lloyd, the 67 car. He started 22nd, Lloyd, and is into the top 10. Well, that's the 32 machine. That's the Ethan Lennon. He's the one, I think, who collected the already spinning Fred Green, and it's pulled the front bodywork off that car, so he won't be going anywhere too quickly. Just has to limp around to the checkered flag if he can. Battle for 5th then, through Stowe, down through the Vale. Colin Cronin holding on to 5th for now. Here comes Carney to the inside of Smith. Well, any sort of working together strategy that they might have had maybe going out of the window. It's a shame, actually, because they are catching Rocco Coronel. Oh, around goes Cuthbert, saves it. That was Freddie Lloyd, I think, that he tangled with. Lloyd losing ground as well, but not as much as the R Racing driver, who slips down 5, 6, 7 positions maybe. In fact, no, he's stopping. So Cuthbert stopping at the side of the road. Damage as a result of that contact, one would imagine. So another one falls by the wayside. Everyone, the gloves are coming off, aren't they, in race number 2. Here's the lead battle. It's not over yet, this, because Smith has done a really good job, Joseph Smith here, of closing in on Rocco Coronel. He's sort of shaken off Ethan Carney for now. Takes a very wide line, does the 15 car into the loop to try and get the traction and the momentum off the corner to maybe challenge for the lead down the Wellington Straight. He'll pick up a bit of a slipstream, but I'm not convinced he's quite close enough to Rocco Coronel. George Proudfoot-Nalder, by the way, has closed in on these 3 as well. Proudfoot-Nalder showing some really good pace towards the end of the race. Side by side for 5th in the background. But we'll focus on the leaders as they turn into Brooklands corner. Carney defending 3rd. Coronel did not need to defend the race lead, though, because he's kept Joseph Smith at arm's length. It's been another beautifully managed race, this, from Rocco Coronel. It was that restart, really, that impressed me the most. And then when he made the move, he was able to sort of put Fred Green on the back foot in a way, and it will therefore be a 4th race victory in a row. Rocco Coronel wins the 500th Ginetta Junior race. Lawrence Tomlinson, the chairman of Ginetta, is there to wave the checkered flag for the star of the show, really, in the 2025 Ginetta Junior Championship. Rocco Coronel Can anybody beat him at the moment? It's looking rather unlikely, isn't it, really? Second place for Joseph Smith, third Ethan Carney. George Proudfoot-Nalder set the fastest lap as he chased down the leaders on that final lap of the race. So Proudfoot-Nalder really impressive as well. And it was Colin Cronin who completed the top 5. Rocco Coronel, though, with another really well-earned race victory. He was already 34 points clear in the championship fight coming into this race. 24 points. He will extend that margin now by quite a bit because Alfie Slater and Fred Green, who were second and third respectively in the points coming into that race, didn't have a brilliant result in the end. This, meanwhile, is what was going on for 5th. That was Colin Cronin to the inside of the 27 of Alfie Slater. Slater then has the inside for Luffield, bounces over the curb, but Cronin executes a peach of a switchback manoeuvre, slips back through on the inside line. Is there then a secondary switchback on the exit of the corner? Slater tried to get to the inside of him, couldn't quite get there though, and Cronin was able to hang on, only by 78 thousandths of a second. Wing mirrors going flying as they came to the line, but Colin Cronin managed to reclaim that 5th place. That was a really good bit of racecraft, that, from Cronin, who seems to have been in the thick of the battles all weekend long so far. Rocco Coronel, though, your winner overall, your rookie class winner, extends his championship lead, is looking very good for the Red Bull-backed junior. But it's early days in the championship, and there's nothing to say that he's going to carry on dominating the race wins. Even though he is dominating in the race wins category, he's not winning them by a huge margin, is he, though? In typical Ginetta Junior fashion, it was a 4/10 of a second margin this time. Rocco Coronel back to the elite motorsport drivers of Joseph Smith and Ethan Carney. The charging George Proudfoot-Nalder was 4th, and Colin Cronin with that brilliant battle with Alfie Slater coming out on top for 5th position. Slater was 6th, then Jarrett Clark, Freddie Lloyd, Scott Lindblom and Felix Livesey from the back of the grid to finish inside the top 10. Reeve Lake and Felipe Reich were next, ahead of Noah Young and Josh Watts. Raul Zanzaran in 15th, ahead of Harry Bartle, Emilio Del Grosso, Henry Cameron, Matthew Chihuahua and Katrina E. to Tim Gray motorsport drivers completing the top 20. Max Cuthbert was a lap down, as was Ethan Lennon. In fact, neither of them made it to the flag, nor did Fred Green, with Josh Henry and Torrin Byrne also failing to finish. The 500th Ginetta Junior Championship race took place here at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, and it was another absolute classic. It was Fred Green who held on to the early lead from pole position. Yesterday's winner and championship leader Rocco Coronel slotting into 2nd position through the first few corners, as his teammate Scott Lindblom was in a world of trouble. He ran wide through Beckett's on the opening lap, and that was not to be the last drama for the second of the Red Bull liveried R Racing cars. It was a fairly well-behaved run through the first few corners. Then, though, it all started to go wrong. Yesterday's pole sitter Torrin Byrne was off the road heading towards Village, caught the gravel, spun the car and clattered into the slide up the side of Alfie Slater and Scott Lindblom, who once again was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Then Emilio Del Grosso ended up off the road heading through Chapel and did well to dig the number 5 car out of the gravel trap. Torrin Byrne's car, though, was stranded at the side of the road. That led to a safety car, and upon the race restart, Rocco Coronel made his intentions clear, latching onto Fred Green, passing him down the Wellington straight, but Fred then tried to get the lead back at Brooklands, hit the curb, spun the car, and was eventually collected by an unsighted driver further back in the field. Scott Lindblom got another piece of that, and it was the 32 machine that came out worse of Ethan Lennon. Coronel came through all of this, though, as the race leader and held on to win the 500th race in Ginetta Juniors, his 4th win in a row.